A key element in Satanism is denying people their free will. Therefore, by philosophy and religion, Satanists are the most concerned with mind control. That is why Michael Aquino at one point was the head of the Psychological Operations Unit in the Army Presidio base. There are three key elements in modern mind control, and drugs are almost always used by those who dabble in chemistry, alchemy, and pharmacology. That is to miseducate, to dumb down, and to make weak. That is why the political parties apply the Hegelian principle and big corporations guide them every step of the way. It is the greed from the right, the indifference from the right, that will be mixed with a sort of satanic, quote-unquote, compassion, if you will, from the left, the effeminization, the emasculation of society, and so on. So now that we've established that thoroughly, and I think you would have to be very stupid not to see it that way, let's look at free will, shall we? Let's look at my case. Just like Kennedy and Eisenhower warned us, Eisenhower did it, I believe, right when he was going to end his term as president, and Kennedy did it not long before he was assassinated. Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex and how they would seize on a need for greater security to control us scientifically, spiritually, and otherwise. Kennedy disguised his assault, his philosophical assault on masonry in his communist speech, where he talked about secret societies, secret oaths, and secret proceedings. He was saying, look, let us not mimic the same tactics that the communists are doing. Let us not make the same mistakes. Let us not be hypocrites. The elite saw that if he kept going down this road, it would be hard for them and their friends in the mafia and the CIA to maintain their stranglehold on society. So they assassinated him. That much is absolutely clear. Now, when you look at what they're doing to me, you must ask yourselves one very obvious question right away, among others, and that is, how do they justify it to themselves? For example, do you run surveillance, a $1 million surveillance operation on a homeless person? Or do you only do it on high-value targets, mafia dons and criminal bosses and human trafficking heads and so on, right? So then, how do you justify covert drugging, stalking, and harassing someone with no documented, no convictions of violence, no convictions of rape, no convictions of robbery, no criminal convictions? How do you justify that? You can't say, well, this guy is the biggest threat around. We must use all these resources to drug him. You can't logically say that. You can only say this guy is a threat to the order of society, to our agenda. Therefore, we need to zoom in on him. So it is a no-brainer that I've been chosen Not because they perceived me to be an easy target, because they knew that I was getting thousands of views and it would almost certainly become a part of my videos as expected. You know, there wouldn't be a single person who has watched my videos from the start who wouldn't say, yep, the government is cracking down on him because he's making these videos about them, you know? So it didn't make sense to target me as some kind of non-credible person. It only made sense to target me out of desperation, in a desperate bid to silence me. And look at the justifications they will use. All of them nonsense. Well, this guy hasn't been taking his medicine. How many people in America do you think the shrinks would say need drugs, especially homeless people and extremely poor people who don't have insurance? That argument doesn't hold any weight. You know how many people are on parole right now who are not being covertly drugged? Violent offenders. You know how many pedophiles are free who are not being covertly drugged? People with histories of violence and abuse who are not singled out, much less targeted in groups. Yet because they think in a way that reflects spiritual bottom feeding, and that is criminality, there is no urgency to drug them. Because they're just feeding into big business, like the criminal prison industrial complex. Now I will pay you $2,000 if you can definitively prove to my satisfaction that siding with the New World Order and doing things in a way that they want is not a sign of weakness. You see, kindness can be taken falsely as a sign of weakness, quite often, and quite often it is. But what's quite funny is that this sort of indifferent type of cruelty, which is one of the more obvious signs of weakness, is ignored by people who are weak, they are miseducated or misled, and they are dumbed down. They're stupid. And we see this hypocrisy from the eugenics movement. They say we're going to sterilize the imbeciles, the morons, and the idiots. However, now we're going to make everybody an imbecile, a moron, and an idiot, and target everyone else. Because in order for them to get you to do what they want, they need to miseducate you. They need to dumb you down and make you weak. So therefore, to do things in a way that they want you to do, it screams. It screams that you are miseducated, you are stupid, and you are weak. You are miseducated because you believe that it's okay to do that in the first place. You are dumbed down because you're not smart enough to see through the miseducation. You are not smart enough to see that that's the wrong thing to do. For the same reason, you're miseducated because you're dumb. You're dumb enough to believe that what they're telling you is correct. And you're weak because you don't have the power to rise up against them. You are ignoring the hints, the things that you do perceive that tell the tale of their treachery. You ignore willingly, willfully, because you're weak. So they have conquered you and dumbed you down, miseducated you, and have made you weak. And in order to do so, and in the process of doing so, they have taken away your God-given free will, which is a key ingredient in Satanism. The Bible says God gave man free will. The devil wants to make man his servant and took great offense that God wanted him to serve man and not vice versa. So in order for the devil to make you his servant, he needs to miseducate you. He needs to dumb you down. And he needs to make you weak and afraid. What did the Romans do when they went around conquering as pagans? They misled people into thinking it was a good idea to make an alliance with them. They dumbed them down and basically made them second-class citizens. Either you were a citizen of Rome or you weren't. And they made sure that they were too weak to rise up against the Roman Empire by having spies everywhere, keeping tabs on them, making sure they weren't strong. Very similar to what they're doing with my top martial artist challenge. They have misled you into thinking that martial arts is not actually combat arts, which has denied you a form of resistance. If you do not concede my point about martial arts competition, then you have missed the point of what martial arts and fighting for honor is about in the first place. These are combat arts. And what is a revolution without a revolt? It is a dog without teeth.